Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 555. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week we're talking Metal Gear Acid for the PlayStation Portable. 2 Konami games back to back for the list this time around. If this is your first time here, the Free Cheese Podcast, every week we discuss a single video game at length. We give our general review impressions of the game, and then we rank it on a list that we call The List over at thefreecheese.com/thelist. We've had 92 other games to date, Matt. This will be our 93rd that we'll rank at the end of the episode. Before we get there, I want to know, Matt, what is your favorite spin-off video game?
Ooh. I feel like there's an answer. There's a good answer here, and I can't think of one. Spin-off.
It's tough.
I know. Man, I'm struggling. There's so many, and I can't think of one. Not on the spot, at least.
Does Super Smash Brothers count?
You know, I was leaning towards like a Mario thing, like Mario Kart, or even like WarioWare,
Or Mario
that
Party?
way. No, not that one.
Oh, alright.
Oh man, I feel like there's something Final Fantasy good. That's good in Final Fantasy that I can't think of.
Dude, Theater Rhythm.
Oh, that's probably, yeah. I would say that's up there.
You know, here's a cheating one. But Megami Tensei.
Okay.
Because it was originally Megami Tensei, and then Shin Megami Tensei is a spin-off of that, and Persona is a spin-off of that, and yeah, you know.
Yeah, sure.
But from those, boy, you
Don't
could
want to
go
extrapolate that anymore, but
yeah. I bet, yeah, probably like a Mario Kart. Keep it as something on the list, right? Super Mario Kart is up there. I do like some of the Sonic spin-off stuff. Those are fun. Some of those Game Gear games, Tails Adventure and whatnot.
you have Sonic and All-Stars. I mean, you're going the cart way, but
Yeah, there's that. You know what else? Final Fantasy. You've got oh gosh, I cannot think of it. Dissidia. Tons of fun. There's some stuff out there. But that's not the spinoff we're talking about this week. We're talking about a spinoff to Metal Gear. I guess, I don't know. I mean, the interesting thing with Metal Gear spinoffs, and this one included, is they all end up kind of canonically working in the history. You know, there's elements. Everything's a little all over the place, but Kojima ain't the only canon, as they say, or do they not say that? Is he the actual?
He's the canon.
All right, fair enough.
The only one that's weird is Portable Ops, but a lot of people don't consider that canon.
Well, as mentioned top of the show, this is our second Konami game in a week. Developed by Konami Computer Entertainment Japan Incorporated, or KCJ. Published by Konami. Released on the PlayStation Portable in North America on March 24th, 2005. Does that date sound familiar to you? It should. It's the PSP's launch date. This was, in fact, a launch title for the PlayStation Portable. Back of the box reads as follows. all new gear for your all new gear. You get it? A plane has been hijacked by an unknown terrorist threat, and it's up to Solid Snake to infiltrate the enemy and put an end to this dangerous crisis. Get ready to experience deep tactical espionage as you plan out your infiltration strategy and accomplish missions in an entirely new Metal Gear game. With over 200 strategic moves, 2 playable characters, wireless play mode, and appearances by your favorite Metal Gear characters, Metal Gear Acid is the ultimate stealth trip. Our bullet point breakdown. Experience Metal Gear's renowned stealth action with new emphasis on tactical turn-based strategy. Purchase new strategic battle cards to enhance your infiltration strategy and discover new cards as you play. Different card decks give you new abilities and actions unique to the theme of the deck. Unlock wireless multiplayer mode and experience head-to-head stealth gameplay with a friend. And finally, incredible graphics and animations never before seen on a handheld game system. I should also note, this is interesting, the game, the back of the box calls out that this was directed by Shinta Nojiri, which, was that common practice for, I guess, like, was this only done because they wanted everyone to know that this was not directed by Kojima? I don't know. I'm intrigued.
I don't know if I'm confusing histories or not. I want to say that I think there's times where Kojima gets sidetracked with other projects and he doesn't have the bandwidth to do other stuff, and then that's when another director comes in. I just don't know what he would be working on at this point.
I just think it's weird they put that on the back of the box is all. Like, I've never seen that before, where it's like I don't remember that last week with Zone of the Enders where it said directed by. No, I'm looking back at that box now. It's a different, yeah. The other interesting thing I'll note here on the back of the box is that the screenshots here just show action happening. They do not show the deck in your hand, the cards there. You get a glimpse at the menu that hovers around each character to show sort of, the turns remaining and all that stuff, but there's no imagery of your card deck at play, which is, of course, the primary. I mean, it's the only way. Found reading through the back of this now to introduce the game. It's interesting, like the way they phrase things here very specifically. New emphasis on tactical turn-based strategy. Purchase strategic battle cards to enhance your infiltration strategy. Like, these types of things that make it seem like, oh yeah, these things will help my infiltration strategy. There's a new emphasis on tactical, but like, it's not straight up saying like, yo, you don't move in this game. You use cards to do everything. Which, listeners, if you've never heard of Metal Gear Acid and you're excited to play a new one, yo, you don't move in this game. You use cards to do everything. It's not a bad thing, but
it's certainly different.
It is, and I think that's the thing for me that I wanted to shake off right away, because the first time I sat down and played this game, I did a mission, and then I hit save, and then I hit the home button on the PSP, and I went and played Luminous. I was like, let me do something else, because I'm not ready for this. This is not what I want to do right now. This is not the game I expected. But returning to it, I needed to shake that off, and I'm happy to say that I ended up really coming to like this game. Matt, you added Metal Gear Acid to the game. Why? To the list. Why Metal Gear Acid? Why did that get the list treatment?
In relation back to Tetris Effect, Metal Gear goes puzzle. Yeah, I guess it's a card game, but more
It's puzzle-ish.
puzzle. Yes. I don't know. I'm now 3 for 3 of an added Metal Gear game in different flavors to the list. So I felt tradition needed to stay in some way as well.
Are we gonna play Survive next year?
No,
All right, just making sure.
because I don't ever want to play it. So no.
And they never did a kart racer, so yeah, I don't know what we'll do.
Delta. There you go.
Ah, yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah, I was pretty excited that you added this to the list, mostly because I spent so much time last year playing PSP, but it's a number one, right? Like, you don't need to have Metal Gear knowledge to play this, and in fact, I feel like, based on my experience jumping into it initially, not having Metal Gear experience might give you a benefit to start, at least. But what about you? Did you feel similarly to how I did first playing it, or did you kind of accept it jumping right in?
It's a change of pace for sure. It's like, it's frustrating being like 4 squares away, knowing exactly what you would do if you were in control of Snake, but like you can't, and like you're limited to the card draw that you have, and it's a little weird. It definitely took me some getting used to. It took me forever to finish that first mission. I was terrible at this game for a while.
Yeah.
Part of it was not knowing what the hell the different numbers next to you meant. Because I was playing this on a flight. I don't have the manual to this game, nor could I pull it up on a flight.
Yeah, no.
So I was really like, what the hell is going on? I was kind of slowly figuring it out as I kept dying and seeing the same cutscene over and over, and try my best not to turn red on a plane with other people on it. But just, yeah, it took a bit. It took a bit. But I will say, for the newcomer, a newcomer, they are very ambiguous with like where Snake's coming from. All they really say is like, he's a war hero and he has stories.
Yeah.
The stories, you can kind of, I would probably guess, refer to Metal Gear 2 and Metal Gear Solid, but you don't know for sure. And that's where this is where they consider like a non-canon kind of side story thing, much like Ghost Babel was, Metal Gear Solid on Game Boy Color. But they keep, you really don't need to know much. As long as you know who Solid Snake is, which I think if you're playing this, you probably know who Solid Snake is.
Spoiler alert, if you don't know who he is, he's the dude what's on the front box. He's the one on the left. Yeah. I guess, yeah, to your point, so this game does have a lot kind of right at once, and you do slowly acquire new, obviously, cards, which we'll talk about the cards and the deck building and that whole concept of it. But in addition to acquiring new cards, you also, like, there's different things you have to do within the game itself, right? Like, so sometimes it is just a matter of get from point A to point B and make sure that you're seen as little as possible en route to do so. At other times, you have to specifically unlock a certain door. At other times, you need to take out a certain enemy, or take out a certain wall, or whatever. There's different things you have to do that they do change the gameplay quite a bit, and I feel like the game's generally pretty good about stair-stepping you to that point. But at first, it's a lot. Because again, even if you go into this knowing it's a card game, it's still a bit different from other like deck building games in that sense. So the character moves on all characters. The rules that the player, and this is what I really like about the game, the rules the player are bound to are the same rules that the enemies are bound to. So they have their own playable card decks invisible to you that they're playing from. And your movement, your attacks, all of that stuff, it's all based on a certain number of actions you can take per turn and the cost of each card that you're playing with. But when you first boot up the game, it's like, here's Snake, here's your deck, here's this meter, here's something at the top that says rest, here's another, is this a health meter? And then there's a 24 out of 30. What does that mean? Does that mean I have 24 bombs, 24 points, 20? What is happening?
Magic points?
Yeah, like, is that my? I did for a really long time. I was like, okay, this is my like secondary meter or something like that, and it kept going down, and I'm like, what did I do to make it go down? Did I use an attack? Is that one of those other? Is that why I have a 0 next to this timer? Because I used all over the place. So let's break down what those things are. And thankfully, I'm not on a plane right now, so I do have the manual in front of me. I can tell you. What Matt was describing before is called the situation window, which it shows the player's life gauge, the current number of cards in their hand, the current cost, and the order in which their play turn will play out. So if you're kind of looking across the landscape of the stage and you see, numbers at that bottom number, you can kind of see who's up next. So you can strategically move Snake around and past and behind and whatever people before they notice him or react to him or kill him, in my case, most often. The aforementioned confusing weird number that I couldn't figure out is the cards in deck. So it displays the remaining number of cards in the deck over the amount of cards in a full deck. And the nice thing is, once you run through your entire deck, it reshuffles them and you just keep rolling. So you're not like...
At a cost.
Fair, yes. Everything you do in this game comes at a cost, which... The cost meter increases, the amount of time you have to wait before your turn is up next. So the more things you do, the more kind of, not at a detriment always, but generally speaking, right? Like you're kind of putting yourself, everything you do is added up. And your total cost, whoever has the lower cost, like, gets to move more.
It's
right?
almost, I think a good way to describe it is like action points, right? Like you have this card that's 6, and you have this card that's 5, and then so you use both of them. And I guess that's another thing we'll get to is how you can use cards. But like you use those cards, that adds to 11. Meanwhile, so your turn's over. You have 11 action points or whatever, and then the guard goes, but their cards might only cost 6. Well, then they're going to go again because their 6 is less than your 11. Now you'll be down to 5, but they're at 0, so they get to go again. And this can rinse and repeat. They might play a card that does 3. Still less than 5, so then you have 2, they're back down to 0, they're next again. And then this just kind of multiplies as you have more enemies and I guess like robot sentries and bosses and, all this other shit that's all over the battlefield within your sight line. So, it's a very interesting way of doing this. And, I guess I just keep going through mechanics here because there's a lot more to uncover here.
Well, but to back up from that, like, I just finished Marvel's Midnight Suns before playing this, which is also a deck building game. What I got very used to in that is every turn you're obviously playing from your deck, but there's no cost per card. There's simply like in the bottom right corner of the screen, you have a number of moves that you can physically move a character around the field somewhere. And then you have a number of cards that can be played per round. And then you have a number of items you can use per round. And there's a fourth thing that I forget. But either way, like, movement is not bound to whatever. You can, as long as you have a number of moves left, you can just move as much as you want. It's not bound to one of your, very, very finite actions. And then cards themselves, you have a finite number you can use per turn, but there's also like so many things you can do, which you get a little bit of that in this game, but in Midnight Suns, like, you get all this stuff where, like, a lot of cards will have like a quick action to it. So like, if you kill someone using this card, it does not cost a card play. So you can really start to stack and min-max your decks with certain things. A lot of like really effective cards will have knockback and quick. So you can hit an enemy into another enemy to kill a weaker enemy, damage the primary one twice because of the knockback damage. Like, you can do all these really neat things. So I'm coming into Metal Gear Acid with that, like, literally, like, I finished that. I don't know what night I finished Marvel's Midnight Suns, but I wrapped that up, and then I'm looking at the schedule for us, and I'm like, time to start Metal Gear Acid. And literally went from, like, put down PS5 controller, pick up PSP, and then it's very different in terms of just player input and freedom and the restrictions of the game. But once you get into it, I think it does start to make more sense. You want to talk a bit about deck building now? Like, obviously Midnight Suns was something I just played. Have there been other deck builders that you played that...
Not like this, no. I know there's others out there, but I've never... I mean, the only deck building I've done is, like, a card game. Like,
yeah, Magic
I was going to lead with Artifact, of course, but yeah, Magic is another example.
Man. What a shame. What a shame.
Yeah, but Magic's a good example, I guess, for those that know.
Yeah, for those who know Magic. Obviously, everyone knows Artifact. Did you ever play, like, Slay the Spire?
You just made a liar out of me. I did play a little bit of Slay the Spire. I didn't spend a lot of time with it. I probably have only like a few hours if I were to look at an hour count somewhere. But I did play something like that. I didn't get very far though. I don't think I'm very good at these. I think in hindsight, playing this and the little bit of Slay the Spire that I have played. It's different way of thinking. I don't think I've figured out how to best think.
I ended up relying on the auto deck builder a lot in this game. I was kind of swapping things out as needed here and there, and like I'd look and like if I like let the thing automatically build a deck for me, and I'd scroll through and see like there's certain cards I knew I just never used. Like, didn't matter what, like, you can call it as powerful as you want. I was never going to use it. So I'd swap it out and throw in something that I rely on frequently. But yeah, like you, like, I never feel quite confident in these types of games. Midnight Suns was the first time I actually did. And here's my thing, right? And I just wrote about this on in finishing Midnight Suns, I ended up writing about like committing to a thing and like really learning that thing. And you really just you're like, there's a weird synergy between you and the game that you're playing. And I felt that with Midnight Suns. So I thought like, let's just apply the same logic here and make sure I really get into this and really understand the systems. And like, I still never felt, there was not a single mission I went through where I didn't shoot or get shot. I never successfully snuck through anything. And I did learn, like, in time, you start to pick up on, like, I can move, before I make a move or whatever, I can hit triangle to pull the camera up, and I can run around the battlefield with the camera and look at where are all of the enemies currently looking? Where are all the lines of visibility of my opponents, so I can make sure I avoid those. Like, I did everything I could, and every mission, I think the best I got was, like, I alerted someone, but it didn't go into full panic mode, but like they were at least like aware of me and they're radioing for people. But before it kicked into full on, alert mode, I took that guy out. That's the best I ever got. But it always was, I never once did I clear the thing with like a no kills or no alert, thing. Outside of like where it happens naturally or whatever. But that said, while deck building not, I guess, either of our strong suits, the using the decks, the actual controls, I feel like playing this game is really intuitive. Like, there's a lot of like, I don't want to call it automation that happens, but like transitions and things and all of these, like the selections you make and the way that the game sort of like snips through different sequences. I feel like it's all very intuitive. The way that you move through the menus and like how it feels to flip through your available cards, to use them, to discard them, all that stuff I felt like worked really, really naturally. Did you experience that? Do you feel like it was cumbersome at any time, or?
Yeah, again, first 2 hours of this game without internet connection nor access to this manual, I figured out a lot of the like R and L, like naturally switching the thing. It was a lot of instinct type things I was pressing, and yeah, I liked it. The only thing that was weird was you did have to go to the menu for some actions, which I wish could have been mapped in a different way, but
yeah,
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, like if discard could have just been circle or something, or not, whatever. But
we'll get into discard here soon.
Get into discard. What's wrong with discard?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with discard. It's just when a key card is buried in your 30 to 35 card deck, and you need it, and then all of a sudden you don't have a strong draw card deck or card draw deck, so you're just discarding and discarding and discarding and discarding, and finally you realize, it came out 2 of 35. Thank God I can finally complete this mission now.
So
you become familiar with it in terms.
All right. You brought up a point that I was going to make at some point. That was one where I guess, okay. Yeah, let's just go right there. So Mission 3 was one that stuck out to me pretty early as an example where I did not like how restrictive your player agency was. I felt like it didn't benefit the game. I'm playing Mission 3, and this is the one where you have to walk into that little, like, I guess it's an abandoned residential area or something like that, and there's the wall that's been recently
with the C4.
Yeah. The goal is get to C4, right?
Right.
I go into that stage, and I get near that wall, but not close enough to trigger the dude to say, Snake, you gotta go get C4, you gotta do all that.
We had a similar experience. I know where this is going.
I get there, I see the wall, I pull the camera up, I see my objective, I'm like, I know what I gotta do. It's a wall. I've got explosives. I gotta blow the wall up. I have a grenade in my hand. I throw the grenade at the wall.
Oh. Because you've never played, or you don't play Metal Gear a lot.
No, hold on. I throw the grenade at the wall. Grenade blows up. Nothing happens. What did I do wrong? I get closer to it. I get the trigger that I've got to get the C4, and I'm like, right. Metal Gear 1, I get it. And I get it, right? It's the thing, it plays right into Metal Gear's thing. And I even wrote, like, yeah, this is reminiscent of Metal Gear Solid 1. It took me back there. But for the game itself, like for that experience, I hated the fact that like I didn't have agency over that. Like I get the logic of it.
So my problem with that, I saw the wall, immediately knew I need C4. How the hell do I get? So I started like, well, can I like hop over that little like short wall on the outside?
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Can I go up the steps? No, that's dead ends. Because everything, I mean, hell, even your because you get graded kind of. Oh, you actually do receive a grade at the end of each mission. And it's alerts.
Yeah.
So like so the camera line of sight is on the wall. So it was like, all right. I swear to God, I think I hit every single square besides the camera square. And then I finally hit it, and that's when everything just triggered. I was like, well, like, again, this is shit I knew. Why didn't you tell me when I, like, came out from, like, I'm underneath the camera, like, after I crawled underneath that little stair area, I came up, and I'm underneath the, like, tell me there. Don't make me raise the alert. I mean, I understand why, because then you're, like, escaping away from the guards or whatever, sure. But it's not that hard, because all I gotta do is just sit underneath the stairs for 6 turns or whatever the fuck the counter ends up being. Unless you have an alert down card in your deck, you have it at your disposal. You can speed up a little bit.
I just shot the camera out at that. Like, I got under it and shot it, and then moved in and triggered the cutscene. You
know, I'm probably an idiot. I probably just could have did that, but again, my instinct is I know I just need C4. Why am I?
Yeah. Well, but also, like, in Metal Gear Solid, I don't think I would have shot a camera out.
No,
unless I, like...
You need a chaff.
Right, exactly, right? And, like, and I think the game at some point, because the game's really good. I do like this. Like, every time you go back to the main menu before you move into your next mission, it's like, hey, stop, don't do it. Listen, look at this, read this. We're going to tell you some important information because you didn't read the manual, right?
Hey, what up?
Game. Like, that was great. But, and so one of those was like, hey, if you want to stop cameras from seeing you, you need a chaff grenade. And of course, if you've played Metal Gear Solid, you think the same thing, right? But this, like, I don't know how I even stumbled into it. I just sort of, one of the things when I targeted something, I was like, oh, I can target that camera too? Well, all right then.
Yeah.
You know, it was that kind of thing. So, but here's the thing. Then you go get the C4 and you come back in, and to your point before, right? Like, I loaded back into, here's how stupid I am. I load back into the mission after going and getting the C4 in the other level, come back into the mission. I go, like, take one step, and Snake stops and thinks to himself, hey, I'm an idiot and I didn't put C4 in my deck.
So I saw the same cutscene because that was where I had gaps in where I played this game. That was one of the gaps was at that mission. So I didn't really know where I was. I just loaded. I saw like where my arrow was, like where the game was kind of telling me to go. I loaded in, and immediately he was, Roger was like, "You don't have the C4." I'm like, "Oh, right, that fucking shit again." And then I got immediately. I was reminded of a plane ride. Probably that one was on the way back. I was reminded of a plane ride. Of like, God damn it! Right,
yeah,
this level, yeah,
yeah. That part was not pleasant. And that happened a couple of times. And then, of course, once you do get it in your deck, to your point, you've got to then make sure you draw that card to use that card. It's like, I like it, but like some prioritization would have been nice. Simply for the fact that all it did was waste my time. Because it didn't add any challenge to my gameplay. The roaming patrolman in that area, like, I knew where to stand so they would never see me. Like, I had it by that point because I'd been in that stage 6 times.
Yeah, I mean, I just sat underneath the stairs the entire time. Waiting. So I think I got lucky on the card draw there. It was when you first get again, we'll get into this mechanic, but when you get the second character, Teleco, and you get the level 1 key card.
Yeah.
Literally 2 of 30. It popped.
That's the worst. I think I had the same thing in that level too. I don't know if it was as bad as 2 of 30, but it was, because once that happened, I was like, oh.
And then I didn't know who had the key card. I didn't know if Snake or Teleco, because technically Snake was supposed to have it, but my deck number didn't change.
Yeah. How about this? In that scenario, did you I went through it with Teleco.
Oh.
And because of the number of moves I had with her, I went through and went all the way basically to the check or the exit point. And then Snake couldn't get through because she wasn't standing directly next to the door to keep it open with the key. Woo!
Yeah, I accidentally did that. I'd stayed on the same side because my problem, the disadvantage of it, that one there's like there's the guards on the backside that can wrap around like the right hand side of the screen, and by the time the card drew, they were a problem. So I was engaged
they were already
in battle.
dead by the time the card drew for me. I had to
I was running.
Pick them off.
I was sprinting because I was again Metal Gear Instinct. Someone that was like trying so hard to get like silent. I'm not doing big boss runs, but like trying not to kill people in Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, 4, 5, like, you know, very conscious of using tranquilizers. I'm trying not to kill when possible, but I finally tapped out at some point. And now I think that was the mission where I
hated it. It didn't feel good at all to kill.
No.
Especially because there's no like accuracy and you never are actually, it doesn't feel like you're shooting them, but yeah, there's never like it's a stealth game. You should be able to sneak around easily and like.
Also, they got their chance meters from fucking XCOM. Nothing fucking hit. Nothing.
That was never miss. Then you get the one hit and it's somebody's body armor that you hit. The worst. Okay. That was a bit of a necessary tangent on complaining through some of the mechanics. One other thing I think we should bring up with the deck building specifically is the cards themselves. So, something that was neat to me I don't think you too, but the cards that you're able to build decks out of are all based on, I mean, there's some that are unique to this game, but the card packs that you're drawing, it's all based on references to Metal Gear Solid 1 and eventually 2, right?
I mean, past that, it goes into the Kojima verse, because isn't there like Snatcher references, like Snatcher cars and shit?
So yeah, we'll get there too. Yeah, sorry. Okay. There's 2, 3, and then I forget what they called them. Chronicles.
Yeah. Yes.
And that pulls in other stuff, including Zone of the Enders. There's also password cards you can unlock. Did you try any of those out?
No, because I'm a total idiot. I thought the password system was just a password system for those that didn't have a PSP a memory card. And it was a launch title.
Well, no, that's not a bad thought, honestly. For me, I saw the password thing. I was having some trouble partway through, and I'm like, there's got to be cheats for this game. I just need to pull something up and just like, can I turn on like, I don't know, anything? And I went to GameFAQs and looked it up, and I saw they had all of these card passwords.
I was gonna say there has to be numerous like callbacks. I'm assuming like Rex, Ray.
Ooh, I didn't actually take. All I did, I looked through, and I was like, I saw Jehudi from Zone of the Enders, and I was like, that'll be a fun one. Let me pull that in. And that one, it's not like anything special. Like I was hoping it would be like a crazy mega attack or whatever. But what
was the character limit on the pass? I never opened the screen.
I don't remember. I'm gonna pull up the password list now and see.
Say Shagohod's probably in there. Try to think what else. Maybe cardboard.
Yeah, I can't tell what the limit is, but yeah, there's like again, Jehudi was in there. Who did you just say?
I said all the Metal Gears, Rex, Ray, and Shagohod.
I mean, so those I don't see as bonus cards because those are in the actual.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so these are just like bonus exclusive things. These
yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, those were neat. I like that's
cool.
in there. And then yeah, so you end up like as you're wandering through the various stages, you unlock, or you'll kind of come across these card packs, and then you can buy from those card packs based on how much in-game currency you have, which they're points, but it's like it's kind of based on your cumulative score at the end of each turn, right? Like you rack that stuff up and then you can go in and buy them. So there are 200 of those, as mentioned on the back of the box, you can purchase through the card shop itself. And they range from different weapons to characters. Like one of the first ones I remember getting outside of the like a typical card was, now I forget his name, but who's the guy with the two swords?
Oh, Gray Fox?
No, it wasn't even him that I got first. But yeah, I mean, like, you're able to quickly like execute some of these cool moves just because you have that card in your pack.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of different characters, and they like when you use them, they like do like little like vignette little things, little act like show the character from the game or whatever. Because I was running, Meryl. I forgot what Meryl's was, but I was running Meryl. I had Otacon and Liquid, or sorry, not Liquid just Ocelot. I was using those, and it showed like the little vignette things, so that was kind of cool. And I figured they do that for all like the key kind of characters, objects, whatever the heck from those packs.
Yeah, and they all like they're kind of straight up like FMVs right from the games themselves, which was cool. No, I thought that was a really nice touch. That, and then I also love like the first time you get a new card.
Yes.
Type.
I was waiting to bring it up. I thought we were going to bring it up later. Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Like,
perfect.
It was just so cool. Like,
it's so out of left field.
The first time it happened, I was like, do I have like did something break? Like, did I? But yeah, so it's like you get a new card pack type like in the stage, like, and they're clear, like, because you're so used to seeing the one that when you see one that's a different color, different whatever, like, you're like, oh, that's different. Something's weird here. So then you get back to your main menu before you can start a new mission. It pops up with this whole just like fake commercial that's like, interruption. And it's this whole VO thing, like with, it's so, I think that's what's so stark compared to the game itself, because the game, there's no voice acting. And then you've got this thing where it's just like, come and get your new cards down today. Like, you gotta, in the shop now, available now. Buy this. Yeah, a lot of fun with that one. And fun to unlock the cards, and I don't know, that was a satisfying little that whole buying cards, looking at what you unlocked. I think that was all really, really well done. I feel like I could do that forever. Like, and that's the thing I really liked about this. And we spent a while kind of on gameplay and some complaints and stuff like that, but like thinking about the way the game looks and feels and like your interaction with it, I think that's the part that really strikes me the most, is like the menus, the navigation through the game, the art, like all of the stuff that you spend so much time doing. All of it feels like you are picking it up and moving it with your fingers, even though you're using your hands. And I think for me, a lot of that like really complements what the PSP is, right? Like the fact that like, I know the PSP is not the first handheld with a screen, but at that fidelity and at that level, like there was something special about the PSP being what it was, and like being this sort of like, I don't know, window into a new world that you're holding into your hands, and the fact that they put so much intention behind the way you moved through, that is the like long lasting part for me. I love the game. By the end of it, following the story was a lot of fun and weird. You know, the gameplay was never not a challenge. Like, I was well over the like estimated how long to beat, but I'm not even mad about it, right?
Dude, I think that how long to beat we pulled is wrong. I just think it's wrong.
There's no way, but like I'm not mad because it's a really, really good game. But
so I didn't get to see this all the way through. I definitely saw more than enough to talk to it, but I know there's some levels later on. I think frustration would creep in where just the length of the mission and where like there's no checkpoints really.
Yeah, 100%.
And I feel like I didn't necessarily get to some of those levels, but I know me, and I know. If I would have died and had to retread some ground for about an hour. And that's like the other thing. Like, I feel like the first few missions, again, like, you know, depending on how good you are and the grasp you got with the game, you're completing them like 15, 20 minutes, I would say, most of them. And then all of a sudden they throw, I think there's some like longer stages just with the way the mission changes shake up the thing. So like I don't know, it kind of loses where it lives a little bit. I feel like the PSP should be able to be hitting checkpoints at least like every half an hour. But then to not like, you know, not have access to anything like that for like over an hour is a little tough.
Yeah, there were some, I don't remember the mission number, but the one where like, I mean this happens a couple times, but there's one where there's like these kind of, the whole space is sort of like a cream color, and you and Teleco have to like divide and conquer basically in opposite directions and all this stuff. That one's pretty long, and that was the one where I had already done a bit of playing, and kind of jumped into that thinking, well, I'll do one more and it won't be that bad. And it got long enough where, and I was failing, whatever, and it was just like, I'm in the middle, I made good progress, don't have time to keep playing it right now, so I had to like put the PSP in sleep mode, but also I was terrified of the battery dying because I have a new battery in there, but it's just not exactly it's still like, and I'd already been playing for a bit, so I had to like run all the way downstairs and put it on the charger, and just it was a little bit of a leave it overnight and come back to it. I don't think it's worth like spoiling the story for this, because I did early on, there were a lot of things where I was like, I don't know, reading through it, I'm like, well, this isn't going to be a Metal Gear. Like I kept kind of dismissing it, and I think like unfortunately so, but the game does end up getting quite intriguing in the story department. We don't need to go beat for beat for this. I think it's worth people check out if they're interested. But you have completed every Metal Gear ever, save Survive.
Solid.
Every Metal Gear solid. Fair enough. How does this stack against other Metal Gear?
It's tough to say that this is more convoluted than others. You know, I think I've joked during our Metal Gear Solid 2 episode, whenever we did that seems like 10 years ago now, that that game ends in like a 10-way Mexican standoff for the last like 3 hours or 2 hours of that game. It's just, it's just so bizarre on top of how real it is nowadays. That game has aged. I don't know if that's poorly or very well. I don't know what to choose there. But like,
I think well,
even with all that, this is, I don't know. There is a lot of twists and turns along the way, and it's weird to like, you know, this is where like that side story thing comes in. There's like a beat where like, is Solid Snake actually Solid Snake? Like that's a weird thing that I don't think any other Metal Gear like main game can get away with, but it's something they can explore here because, like
you don't quite know.
Again, it's ambiguous. You probably could hypothetically slide it into the canon somewhere, but people don't usually consider it canon because it's not like a Kojima directed Metal Gear game, which I kind of tend to agree with. And this one it gets really weird, but no, with the fact that it's a side story, they can throw shit at a wall and it doesn't impact. I mean, I guess at this point, 3's out, and 4 I'm assuming is in development, and 5 isn't even a thought, I'm sure, yet. I guess there was room for opportunity to fit it into the canon, but now that, we are on the other end of it seems very hard to fit this into canon somewhere.
Oh, so, really? You don't think it fits?
I think again, there is a lot. There's a lot. It could, I think you could, if you really wanted to stretch some things, sure. Because the game starts off with, like, Solid Snake's seen some shit. It doesn't tell you any, like, after this, so, like, you don't know if seen some shit is Metal Gear 1.
Okay.
Metal Gear 1, 2, Solid 1, 2, 3, like, I don't know. Like, it depends where some shit could happen.
So this is more of a Zelda and not a Castlevania in terms of timeline, right? Like,
I would think so, yeah. I would think so.
Yeah. There's always a snake, there's
so
always
much,
a gun.
Because, like, I don't know, again, with them questioning Solid Snake and him getting into his own head, and I know that kind of gets explained there at the end with, like, another twist. But that was so obvious. Why is that? Again, whatever, I'm not getting into the story. Yeah, I don't know. There's... it's tough. I would not consider it canon. But I think that's what makes this fun. Again, they can do weird shit and not have to worry about, oh, how does it now affect 3? Or how does it affect 1? I'd probably more so 1 than 3, because 3 is a prequel. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. This also takes place in 2016, so I don't know if that...
Oh, it does have a year. Oh, I don't know all the years of... I don't know the dates. Obviously, I know what games are in what order, but I don't know the years. Interesting. So, with it having a year, I doubt it fits in somewhere.
I should say... Oh, no, I guess the whole thing takes place in 2016. But yeah, that's the like... Well, yeah, the story setup in the manual says, the year is 2016. The place somewhere over the United States. But it's really talking about the flight being hijacked in 2016.
Okay, so now that I'm looking at the year, this is definitely not canon.
Okay.
This would take place after 4, and you have to keep in mind, Old Snake is in 4.
Right, yeah.
The fox dye has aged him.
Fair enough, okay. That solves that. I know we also, like, we jumped through the different card types briefly. Weapon cards, action cards, support cards, items, and character cards. We talked about how to acquire cards. Another piece with acquiring cards is not just buying them from the shops and collecting the boxes in the map, but also, depending on your results within a mission, you can unlock certain cards. So there's that piece as well. So you have quite a few options. Yeah, I mean, we Matt talked a bit about, like, crawling under the stairs, but I don't think we, like, fully highlighted that feature. Like, you can use ladders, you can flatten against a wall, you can crawl, hang, you can do a lot of things that you're used to doing in a Metal Gear game, but they're always going to be sort of at a cost.
Yeah, and, like, we never... Again, this game, it's just one of those... I think it's worth playing, in my opinion. Spoiler alert for reviews. I think it's worth playing. But like there's a lot about the mechanics we don't even have time to get into. Like there is really no movement cards. There are movement cards, but you're not filling your deck with them. You have to burn other cards to move.
Yeah,
and that's where like
too.
your action points and stuff like that. And then like with that, like at the end of the turn, you can choose to stand or crawl. So like before you get to a section where you crawl, you have to make sure you're crawling, so that way your next move you can crawl.
Yes.
There's little, I don't want to say dumb. It seems like obtuse things with this. And especially with the amount of, again, I know like we said that everything has action points, but like unless you have certain cards in your deck that you use, Snake has two moves. And like one of them would have to be like getting into the crawl position in front of this thing and then crawling through. And then you have to wait another turn to finish crawling through, stand up, and then move. There's some weird things like that. And there was something else I wanted to mention. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Damn.
Well, to that point of weird actions and weird obtuse things, another complaint I have, if I may, is you talked about checkpoints in the stages, or the lack thereof in some cases. What I hated were the invisible triggers that stop your movement. So there's cutscene triggers that happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like, you hit a certain point on the map, and then... like the C4 mission we were talking about before, right? Like you're not told C4 time until you're standing in a very specific square. And in other cases, like there was one, I remember, this is where I like stopped and wrote it down. I forget what mission it was, but I'm playing along and I get to a certain stage where it had been just it wasn't a good mission, right? Like I was already pretty worn down, but I'd shaken off the alert meter. I got everybody calm back down. I've got a path I can see to the finish line. I know that walking by this one guy is going to make him go, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to do it anyway because I know I can get past him and past the other guy quickly enough. And this is one of the things with times where I had like, you know, the card that increases your number of moves, right? So I'm like, I'm feeling good. Like I can stack some things. I can hide right behind that corner and then I can quickly, whatever, I can optimize this. Plan it all out. As I'm walking literally right between the two dudes, it stops with a cutscene trigger to tell me, Snake, you got a something. As soon as the cutscene ends, both dudes are alert, both dudes are shooting me, and I'm dead and I have to restart the mission. And it's like, that part, incredibly frustrating.
That would have been frustrating. I mean, for me, it just like I burned one of my like 4 space movement cards.
That
and then
too.
I took one
That
step,
too.
and then I'm like, all right, well, that's burned. And then like one of my turns is gone too. Like I don't even get like the refund on the turn.
No, you get nothing.
Yeah, there's a few, this kind of pile up.
It's stuff that I'm curious to know how Acid 2.
I think I will try Acid 2 at some point, especially with my like ear of the PSP here. I think I touch it in some way towards, I don't want to say towards the entity, but like at some point this year.
Yeah. You can also, this is a side total tangent, but you know you can connect this to Metal Gear Solid 3?
I saw that. Do you get like a special weapon? I don't know.
Yeah, you get a bonus in 3, and then you get a bonus in Acid. Yeah.
Well,
but it was neat that they were doing USB connectivity between the PSP and the PS2. Like that at launch, right? Like
next time I play through the Solid series in 3
Yeah.
years, I'll do it again. I'll try it.
We talked a bit about gameplay, kind of glossed through the story, but again, I don't think there's much to say in that sense, like anything deeper. The one thing I want to call out is just like, I mentioned it briefly, but the lack of voice acting, I think, detracts a bit from my ability to fully immerse myself in the game's narrative. And I usually don't find that's the case. I don't know if it's because I'm expecting, vocal performances in a Metal Gear, so that just threw me off or what. But my problem is I found myself quickly reading, reading through the text and advancing through plot elements too quickly to actually appreciate them.
Yeah.
Until the camera would stop and pull out and show me some like actual cinematic thing, I found myself quickly kind of like, and I feel like I definitely missed things along the way.
Yeah. A little weird because Portable Ops ends up having voiceover, which Portable Ops is on PSP, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Peace Walker is the one that makes the jump to Vita, I think.
No, Peace Walker was on PSP.
Oh, right. Yes, duh. Right. It didn't come to Vita, and that was right.
That was the yeah. Speaking of PSP, I do want to mention this was a launch game, and like we won't have to look at the entire launch lineup, but I find it interesting that this like you get games like Twisted Metal Head On that it's like a smaller version of what you're used to on the console, and like this is also another one of those, but like same thing. Wipeout Pure is like, hey, we're gonna take Wipeout, but we're gonna put it there, but it's still Wipeout. Like, do you feel like this was the best move for PSP launch, like to make Metal Gear a deck building strategy turn-based game?
It's tough in a post Peace Walker world because I think Peace Walker is actually like one of the better Metal Gear games, just period, and that's on the same console. But then when you compare to Portable Ops, the little bit of play to Portable Ops, it's like it's fine. I like the idea of instead of watering down the typical Metal Gear experience, let's try and do something weird and take full advantage of this hardware in a way, and tell, have an interesting gameplay loop and interesting story and all this other stuff. Handheld stuff gets a bad rap for like trying to be different or being watered down, but I don't know. I think sometimes I like the different better because the watered down, like I just go to the console for that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that was why I remember when the PSP first hit, I didn't have one at the time. And I remember my brother's friend brought his over and I was like, what are you playing on it? And like Liberty City Stories was the answer. And it's like, oh, cool, dude, they put GTA 3 in your hand. That's insane. And then I go to play it and I'm like, well, I mean, don't get me wrong. What Rockstar did was incredibly impressive for the time. But it wasn't quite GTA 3 in your hand, right?
Right.
A little bit different. And yeah, like I agree with what you're saying. Like this being its own thing is really cool. And like, again, thinking back to that PSP, right? Like right now it's so weird because we have phones, we have, whatever, right? You can do whatever you want in the palm of your hand. But like PSP at that time, like thinking about what the device is and what mobile gaming was like having something like Metal Gear in your hands it's not Metal Gear, but it's Metal Gear Acid. Like a game like this, it's like I think a perfect portable game. To your point, like the missions, they can get a little too long. So I'm thinking of like all the commercials where they show a dude with his little sling bag and he's getting on the bus or the train to go to work and he's playing his PSP. Like, yeah, okay, but you're probably gonna need some portable battery or the ability to, you're going to be popping this thing in sleep mode quite often. But yeah, I agree. I'm happier with this than just sort of like, well, it's not quite what you want from it's not what you would have gotten if you just played it on PS2. Quick touch on music, sound effects, anything there stand out specifically to you?
They have a lot of the good sound effects and stuff. I love the gunshot when you start the level, like just classic Metal Gear Solid main menu.
Yeah.
And you get a lot more of it because you're typically, like you're only hitting continue when you load the game for Metal Gear Solid. Here, it's every mission.
Yeah.
It's
a good sound.
You got the alert sounds and stuff like that. And a little bit of the angst music. Although I don't think it's the exact replica.
I don't think so either. You don't get the Snake death call.
No, because there's no voiceover.
Yeah, I wish that they did one voice, right, just for that. But, yeah, to complement the menus, I think like the sound effects just kind of moving around there are always nice. I did really like how creepy the music was with the two dolls.
Yeah. Yes.
Whose names I'm completely blanking on now. Elsie and Francis. The marionettes. That was pretty haunting and cool. I guess
I have two things visual related, just real quick. One, I absolutely hated Snake's like art, not his gameplay character, the art when he's talking. I don't think it looks like Snake at all.
Maybe that was the
looked
point.
Weird. I don't know. Whenever I see him on screen as the in-character model, believed it. As soon as that face came up, maybe it is Hans Davis. I don't know. So I don't know. That was something that, like, as soon as I saw it, it bothered the hell out of me. I don't know why, but that was just something. And then just another small complaint about the. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm looking back at it again, like just fresh, and yeah, like I think it's because every other character, and maybe it's because a lot of them are new, right, for this, but like they look right? Like you see them and you're like, yes, that looks like okay, but then you look at, he just doesn't. He's different. He's too different.
And then this is more on the gameplay side, but there are some impossible angles where you just can't rotate or move the camera and see where the hell you are on the map. It's just that the way the camera is, because you don't have free reins over it. It's stuck. It's like that isometric view.
Yeah.
There are some times where you see like the second floor of something and you're trying to see the first floor, and no matter how you turn or whatever, you're just like, you can get out of it a little bit by hitting triangle to see the grid. But it's really weird because you have to be out of every card interaction. You have to be like ready to play your card, like choosing your card, and then you get triangle. You can't like just bring that up at any point.
No, you have to back all the way out of the action you were just about to commit to double check. Wait, do I really?
Yeah, is this in this site or no? Yeah. Again, it didn't happen a lot. Like it, from what I experienced, but it happened enough times where I noticed it a problem.
I agree with that, yeah.
But that's, I feel like we complain a lot. It's really not that bad. It's just some obtuse things in some areas, but
I agree. Okay, so let's do a quick shotgun blast of stuff you liked. I liked the ally system. I liked not only having to manage my deck, but managing a partner's deck too, right? Like
with like exclusive cards on each potentially.
Exactly.
As well.
Like that was really neat. A nice, nice bonus like partway through the game to like have Teleco added in. I liked Teleco. I thought like she was funny. There's little things she says and the way she reacts to certain things that like you.
What was it? Shadowtail.
Yeah. Like
what?
There's things that like Snake's never gonna do or say. Like Snake can be funny at times, but I don't know. I liked her character. Tiny. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but I absolutely came to love the situation window and how turns were, and then it gets even more crazy when you end up getting the second character you have to control with Teleco. It's real good how they handle it. It takes a bit to wrap your head around, especially if you don't have a manual in front of you. But once you do, I think you really appreciate the attention to like how that was like developed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do have a note like from my playtime that I'd want to call out here because, again, to Matt's point, we complained a bit, but I wrote down, I keep thinking I'm going to stop playing the game, and once I make it through the mission, I keep going for more. Like, every time I'd sit down to play it, I'd go into a mission, I'd get frustrated, I'd lose, I'd fail, I'd get shot, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stop. And then I'd end up like going through, and as soon as I complete the mission, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do one more. You know, it's just like, even when it was frustrating, I still wanted to play it. It just feels good. And for me, like, this became, I don't want to quite call it a bedtime game because I wasn't exclusively playing it then, but like, I was taking my PSP to bed frequently in the lead up to recording this because it was just like, well, I'm going to do another mission, you know, and like, the cool thing too is like you can jump back through different areas in the game. Like even though there's not a specific mission, you can just do that. So if you want to go, and there's not many resources you can gather, but if you want to do that, or you just want practice, or you just, you know, want to see the layout of a
grind points, right? Or is that only on missions?
Yeah, and there's some some stages in the game where like you're forced to go kind of back and forth to certain spots. But you know, you can also just do it. Get the paper, so you can get the paper. Any other things you like about the game you had jotted down, or?
Not jotted down, but just overall, kind of like echoing your point where, at first I did not like this game. I would just freely admit I just could not, for the life of me, I hated the fact that I was 3 squares away, but no more action points, and I just couldn't go up, pop, pop, ha, and then, you know, run on with my day. But once I accepted that, as it's just being completely different from every other Metal Gear game, once I accepted that, it was a slow burn. And honestly, it sucks that I just kind of ran out of time here before recording, but I think this game finally got its hooks into me earlier this week, and I only have 24 hours in a day and wish I work a full-time job and have other obligations in my life. But yeah, I will. I think I'm going to, I might continue to play this, or no, because I know what happens in the story. I might just jump ahead to 2 and just start playing it like sooner rather than later and see what's up there and see like maybe they improve some of the obtuseness and it's a better game because of it.
I would appreciate to hear if it did. I guess then in closing, before we rank this, is it worthy of the Metal Gear title?
I think so. I mean, again, totally different gameplay. I think you just throw that out the window. I think the gameplay's good. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's good. But yeah, I think you throw it out the window. But what you have left, the game, it looks like Metal Gear. The cards look like all the art you ever see in an instruction manual or main menus or anything for Metal Gear. And then the story, spoiler alert, there's a Metal Gear. That checks out.
Right.
And we mentioned last week, Zone of the Enders isn't really like a Kojima story, but it's told, or that's what I said, like it's told in a Kojima way. This is a Kojima story. This is like convoluted as hell. There's 16 twists, 10 of them at the same time. You're trying to keep track of what the hell is going on. But that is a Metal Gear game. So, and it only gets, I always mention 2, because that's the one we have on the list. It only gets worse as Kojima tries to stitch together the timeline as we close out with 5. So, here we are.
Yeah, I like you, I started off pretty sour on this and ended up really, really liking it. And coincidentally, it's been popping up like a ton. Probably because I'm, always looking in circles where people are talking about and playing the PSP, but like randomly somebody on the forums I was on just started posting about this, like in a thread completely unrelated, and it was like, dude, okay, all right, here we go. Just seeing more and more things about it. I don't know. It's popping up. It's a thing. Matt, we're going to get ready and rank this on the list, which listeners, you can check out the list at thefreecheese.com/thelist. Before we do, I'm curious, has there been another game in the series where you've had a direct partner in this fashion?
No, none of them in co-op.
Fair enough. Well, let's rank this puppy.
Portable Ops might get into this. I don't think Peace Walker ever. I think Peace Walker, you just send another dude on the mission. Portable Ops, you might have some interchangeable things, but I didn't get very far in that before I kind of put it down. Yeah, I don't remember Peace Walker really having like a tag team thing like this.
I had never played Peace Walker, but the only thing I remember of that is that's the one where you were like via ad hoc connections, like grabbing strangers, to build your army up, right?
Yeah, yes, that. But I think there is. It would be via online with another person having a Vita, but you could like co-op do missions in that game. So yes, in a weird way, but not exactly like this, where you're controlling two at the same time.
Okay, I got it.
Or changing out characters, I guess.
Ranking. Listeners, if this is your first time going down the list with us, we really just kind of open up the list and we look at it and we figure out, what feels right. You have a range that you're looking at?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll throw out the first dart since you threw out the dart last week, and we ended up being in the same area. I think I'm kind of in this like Shin-Chan down to like Star Fox area.
Yeah, all right. That's like the bottom of my area. There were times where I was like,
you can bring me up since you're the one that actually completed it.
I'm in this range between like NBA Street and Star Fox. Like I keep scanning stuff between the 40s and 60s and I'm like, yeah, no, yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's a couple no ways and then there's a few like, well, of course.
Yeah. Like I like Demi Kids better than this.
I think I do too.
I think I like X-Men 2 better than this. Bomberman 3. I could almost put this above Super Mario Kart.
Yeah, but then we put it above Snatcher. I don't know how I feel about putting it above Snatcher.
That was exactly, yeah, I agree. What about above I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream and below Snatcher?
If you're cool putting it above I Have No Mouth.
I am. I think I like this better than that.
Okay.
I Have No Mouth was cool and it was a great experience, but like straight up, like I will keep playing through this. Like I'll go back through and just play random missions. I really like the vibe of this game. Like,
yeah, no,
I don't know that I'll go all the way through the campaign. You know what I mean? But like, or to your point, just jump to 2. But I don't know. It's just a cool thing to like.
It's definitely
feel.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool concept, especially like in it again, once you let go of nowadays like the 11 other games in the series that act like regular Metal Gear games, once you let go of that idea, it's a good game. Yeah, but I don't see me really coming back to this one maybe too much. I think I just go straight to 2 and see what's there, what's up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Does it feel good there? The new 52?
Yeah.
I did not mean to do that. Sorry. Shout out to the comic book friends of the world.
Oh, now I know just okay. I realized.
Yeah, the new 52. Got it.
Well, we didn't rank. Well, I know it's Marvel, but we didn't rank them. It's not that big of a deal.
Rank what?
No, well, New 52 would have been more of a reference if you were doing Marvel's Midnight Suns, because there's a comic book.
Yeah. I gotcha.
But I know that's Marvel and not necessarily DC.
Now I feel we don't have a DC game on the list, do we?
Nope, that's Marvel. We will. Very soon.
From me or you?
You.
Oh, that
Very
one.
soon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's next. Oh no, not next month. What year is it? 2 months from now. Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. Sometime in June. I don't know if there's anything specifically DC related happening in June or not, listener. But if there is, you might want to pay attention to our upcoming schedule, which you can always find in the sidebar of our website, thefreecheese.com. And if you look there right now, you might find that next week we are returning to play Daikatana. Specifically, we're going to take a look at the 1.3 patch for Daikatana and see if it truly does redeem John Romero's weird chapter. We'll find out. Until then, thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.